Hello everybody, welcome into our latest live broadcast, and let's see, today is the 20th of May 2026. I'm your host, CareyHolzman, and today we're going to follow up on the KAMRUI Pinova P1 that we reviewed earlier last week. And today what I want to do is completely wipe the mini PC and reinstall Windows and see if all the drivers we need are provided by the manufacturer or if we have to find another way to do it. First and foremost, you're going to need a Windows 11 installer. That takes an 8 gig flash drive, and you will type in download Windows 11 in your favorite search engine, and the Microsoft site will appear, and then you will click to use the media creation tool and or create Windows Media. I forget what it's called there on the website. Download that, run it, and make your media first and foremost. The great news is what I'm about to show you today should work with any computer, be it a laptop, a desktop, a mini PC. Many of you familiar with the channel have seen this many times before. I've seen some forums where people are asking, what do I do if I don't have a system image from the manufacturer? And I cannot stress enough, the last thing you should be doing is using a system image from a manufacturer. I think that's an extreme tell that you don't understand how computers work. And that's okay. It's not an insult. It's just when somebody on the forum says, I don't know how to reinstall my system if you don't provide me a Windows installer, that's a big red flag for me, because you shouldn't be using those even if they are available. If a manufacturer does not provide one to you, I would consider them doing you a favor, forcing you to find an alternate way. You shouldn't be installing Windows any differently on your mini PC or your pre-built machine any differently than if you built it yourself. Create your own installer. It's all free, it's all legal, and it'll be much better and more current and up to date than what the manufacturers are doing. Take my word for it, because if you download that installer from the manufacturer, you might end up with something slightly different than the rest of us, and you're going to have a ton of updates you're going to have to do from Windows. It's just easy, it's lazy, it's mindless, it's let me just push a button and let it take care of it for me. And there are going to be consequences to that you're not going to like, and not in just the short term with Windows updates, but also in the long term, which would lead one to ask, why do you need to reinstall it anyway? And a good likelihood of why you need to reinstall is because the manufacturer's OS did not recover from whatever happened, or had a defect in it that just didn't appear for a long time. And it may not even be anything you did, just that that's how it was sent. So why would you want to put that back on again? And even if the manufacturer's image is just fine, the only way you'll know is to live with it and see if anything happens. But if you always do it from scratch as if you built the machine yourself, then you should have the reliability and the confidence knowing that there's rarely a likelihood you would ever need to reinstall Windows for the rest of the life of that computer. These days of reinstalling your operating system in order to fix what's wrong with it, they died with Windows, what was before 7? Vista? Those days are gone. That's just not a thing anymore. Maybe if you get an extreme virus infection or a failed hard drive, but that's so rare these days that the frequency, the go-to of just let's just wipe and reinstall, that's sort of like back in the 1920s, everybody used to wear hats. Yeah, some people still wear hats, but I mean, everybody in the early 1900s always wore hats, women included. Those days are behind us. That trend is gone. In this case, what is a technical necessity is different today than what it was 20 years ago. This technology evolves so quickly that if you don't respect and appreciate just how much has changed in 1 year, then you can't possibly comprehend how much has changed since whenever you were taught 10, 20 years ago, maybe 30 years ago, that the solution to all your problems is wiping and reinstall. That used to be true. Not anymore. In fact, Windows 11 can reinstall itself without having to reinstall Windows 11 the old school way. The very fact that anybody is posting on forums wanting to recover by a reinstall, looking for a media, a pre-built media from the manufacturer to do the work for them, is so flawed in its logic that these folks would be better off learning the common new ways so that they don't find themselves just going around in circles while the rest of us have kept moving forward. They're keeping themselves stuck, and they're not progressing because they absolutely refuse to accept any new knowledge. So I hope this video will help people to get on board with the modern operating system and how it works today. Remember, there should never be a need to reinstall Windows ever again. If you're using Windows 10 or Windows 11, they are good until the end of support, in which case they would be upgraded. So there's still no reason to reinstall Windows. It would have to be a profoundly bizarre and unusual circumstance to require that. In fact, I think a lot of people think they have bizarre and unusual circumstances that require a reinstall, when just 2 presses of a button, would fix it. And they just don't know any better. So it would be like walking 3 blocks to get somewhere, or just cutting across the park and taking a shortcut, get you to the same place much more efficiently. But maybe that park didn't exist. Maybe it used to be, somewhere you couldn't traverse before, but now it's open, and they never updated their map in their head, so they always walk the long way around instead of taking the short way. There's no reason to do that anymore. So if people still want to do things the old-fashioned way, they're not hurting anybody but themselves. But it's completely avoidable with just a little bit of knowledge. Knowledge is power, and I am here to share that power, to offer it to you. What you do with it, that's up to you. But I'm going to demonstrate it live on camera, because I don't just talk the talk like people on forums. I'm going to actually show you live, unscripted, in real time, what this process looks like, and it's super easy. In fact, the more you do it, this is the ironic part, the more you do it, the easier it is. It gets easier, just like playing a piano or any other instrument. The more you play it, the better you're going to get. But at the same time, you shouldn't need to do it many times. Once you do it correctly the first time, you should be good for the life of that computer, and resetting Windows if need be can be done within Windows. Just like with your Android phone or your iOS phone. You never reinstall your operating system on your phone. There's a reset button. It resets itself. You know this. Why do you think this is any different? All right. So for those of you who need to hear that, that's for you. For those of you who already know, thank you for your patience as we explain to others who haven't got all of our regulars here, everybody in green. You guys already know this. You've heard me tout about it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to share a link to this video to those forums from now on. So I hope people will get on board and realize that the information that they have is old, and that this is how we do things. And we've been doing things this way at least since Windows 10 came out. So it's been a number of years, and that's how long they've been missing out on the knowledge. I mean, I heard a song on the radio the other day I thought was fantastic. And I thought it was really cool that they were bringing the retro sound back. I looked up the band. The lead singer died 14 years ago. This song was a hit 14 years ago. It's not a new retro sound. It's an old song that I just, for whatever reason, for 14 years, never crossed paths with that song until recently. And much the same way, the knowledge about not reinstalling Windows anymore to fix your problems, it could have been 14 years. And this is the first time these people are hearing this information, despite the fact we've been doing it that long. Maybe not 14 years, but it's been, if it's not 10 years, it's close to it. And still so many people have missed that information over the last 10 years. I hope this gets them current as of May 20th, 2026. Now, when it comes to getting Windows, you just go to Microsoft's website, and I'm going to put a link in the video description below this video that shows you how to do that. We've covered it many, many times. And you always want to use the media creation tool and get your latest copy of Windows, so you're not sitting afterwards waiting on updates after updates after updates. That's all legal. Your system should auto apply the product key by itself. You don't enter any product key, and it should auto activate, assuming you're putting the same version of Windows on. If it's Windows 11 Home, put on Windows 11 Home. If it's Windows 11 Pro, you put on Windows 11 Pro. You don't have to sign into a Microsoft account. It will automatically reassign your product key the minute you get back online and go to Windows Update. The Windows servers know the motherboard serial number and that product key. And in most cases, they're not transferable. You cannot move that operating system to another computer in most cases. That is like a license plate on a car, period. So you get another car, time to go get another plate. And if you do want to move the plate from one car to another, there's a bunch of paperwork and money you got to pay to get that done. So in much the same way, a license for a car isn't that much different from a license for music, for movies, or for software. It is a license. It is not an ownership. So with that, what else can I tell you? It's super easy. It's really super easy. This old school method that people are thinking of, it's really working harder, making the job take longer, and it's frustrating, and it's nothing to look forward to. Once I show you how to do it and you see how easy it is, you'll say, gosh, you know, that's so easy. I could do this all the time. But now you'll know you don't have to ever do it again regardless, because you can just reset the windows inside of the computer no differently than you reset the operating system on your phone. If you had to reinstall the operating system on your phone, how would you do it? Same way. Okay. Let's take a look. Who's joining us right now? We have got Sean Skinner in our chat room saying hello. There's our friend Rick Lakes and Mark Gaines, along with 3D Everything. Our channel administrator, Marilena, hanging out with us, of course. I also see Tony Aindow saying hello. Luke Greenia says hello. Luke's wife sent me a message on Facebook. I appreciate that very much, letting me know she's enjoying the laptop. And hello to her. John Lewis says hello, along with Andy W6AD and Michael Lavelle, Chris Garrett, and Isaiah, all joining us saying hello. Bike Man and Josh Kinder says hello, along with our friend Mark Leibowitz there in Chicago. Shamim Kajviras joins us from Sweden. And let's see, who else do we have? Maelstrom, there's Marco. Hey, Marco. Ciao, my friend. And scrolling, looking for anybody's name I haven't shouted out yet. There's David Graham. Jim Kenny and Mr. Vizio saying hello. Dazzle555 is joining us. .3D Everything is now a member of this channel for 48 months. Isn't that crazy? Thank you so much for your loyalty, your support to keep us moving, keep us growing, and keep us broadcasting. 48 months. I love it. Thank you so, so much. 3D Everything says, I've been promoted from a 36-month badge to a 48-month badge. Where did the time go? Yeah, I guess that's the downside of being constantly reminded how fast our daily lives are happening, huh? Stephen Detroit also joins us and says hello, as well as Anthony SF. I also see Jack Kugelmis joining us from Toronto, Canada. And I think I got everybody. I hope I got everybody. If not, be sure and shout out in the chat room. You forgot about me. Let me know. I want to acknowledge everybody. I don't intend to overlook anybody. It's not intentional, so don't take it personally. There's Frank Jimmy. If you're watching us, please join us in the chat room. This is meant to be an interactive video, meaning your participation is expected. If you're going to watch this video after it airs live, and you're like, oh, it's a 3-hour video, I don't understand why it's got time. That's because we were all having a party. You've walked in after the party and you're looking at all of the mess left behind if you're watching this video when it's not live. And you're going to be scratching your head going, why is there such a mess in here and why is the place empty? Because we were having a party and you didn't join us. You can only join us when we're live. And when you do, pop into the chat room, say hello. That's all you have to do. That's the same way you would with a party. When you walk in the door, say hello. Don't just go to the corner and hide and watch everybody, because it's creepy and you're not going to be making any friends and you're not going to understand why is everybody so happy and having a good time. Because they're participating. That's the missing key. So we would love to have you come in and join us. Just be nice. You know, you go into a party and you start causing trouble, you're going to be massively outnumbered. Okay, so best to just fit in. Hey, you might make some new friends, as many of our chat room participants otherwise would never know each other, and follow in their own discussions while I'm live at the same time. So you're missing out on that if you don't join us. If you're catching this video after it airs, all I can tell you is try and set aside some time at 1 o'clock Pacific time, because that's when we go live. So you can hang out in the chat room and see for yourself what it feels like to be welcomed. All right, let's see. W. Roble says hello. There's Tony Aindow and Edward Bass also joining us. David Graham said, I bought a CD key from URCDKeys for a build I did yesterday with your code. It cost $23.74. So all the prices, so basically, if you need a Windows or an Office license key, we have links to where I buy them for my business. Businesses don't share who they're buying their stuff from, because if they did that, why would you shop and have the middleman, right? Cut the middleman out. I am my own middleman, and I'm cutting myself out so that you guys can pay the same price I pay to get the same codes I get with the same support that I get, because that's what I do for my audience. And we're very lucky and fortunate that we have a key seller that is so reputable, is so good, and charges the least amount for a legitimate product key with support, that they will extend that offer to our audience. So if you ever do need an Office or Windows product key, be sure and check out our video notes under the video description in this video. And in fact, let me show you. If you look at a previous video we've done, which I will pull up right here. So here's a video from, what is that, March? And you scroll down. Oh, and it's this computer, isn't it? Pinova. Right here where it says more. Click on that, and then if you scroll down, all the links for everything we talk about in our videos are in the video notes, and right there are our Windows and Office keys. And these are all your links with current pricing. So depending on what country you're in, this is all US dollars, and I just verified those prices a couple days ago. So that right there is Windows 11 Pro key for $33.34. When I hit buy now, I have to log in. Creating a login is free, but they've got to be able to securely send you your key and your receipt. Otherwise, how are you going to get it? So put your email address and password in if you don't already have one. Create one. And if you want to save some money, right below where it says promotion code, type in my name, Carey, just my first name, and hit apply. Doesn't matter if it's upper or lowercase. Notice that discount now, instead of $33.34, goes to $25 even. There you have it. Then you choose your payment method and just follow the on-screen prompts for making your payment. And then within about 2 minutes, day or night, weekend or holiday, within about 2 minutes, you should get an email response with the download link to the product if you don't already have it. Like I already have Windows 11, right? So I don't need to download Windows 11. I've already got it. But if you need it, they provide the link, and it's directly from Microsoft. It's not a pirated version. And then they'll give you your product code, and what you're going to do is just follow the instructions in the email. If you run into any problems, they've got wonderful support. They'll take care of you. If for any reason they don't, you reach out to me and I'll take care of you for sure, even if it means refunding your money. If I find out that there's a bunch of people having problems, you think I'm going to sit here and endorse this place? Or do you think I'm going to continue to buy my own keys from them? Of course not. So they're highly incentivized to make sure you're happy, because they could lose a lot of business. They want to make sure that they keep you guys happy and keep you coming back and tell your friends. And they're not going to get that if they don't give good customer service. So you can buy with peace of mind that you're fully protected. You've got the backing of Carey behind it. So you can always reach out to us. But my first, always contact whoever you gave your money to first and foremost. And if you're still not satisfied, reach out to me personally. My email address, if you want to reach out, is right here. And you can reach out to us at any point. But do give them an opportunity to respond, because they can fix your problem faster than I can. And if we reach a point of stalemate, then we just refund your money. One way or another, you will not get burned. And in fact, if you talk to people in the chat room, I don't know if anybody had any problems. I think everybody who's bought from our VIP-URCDKEYs link has had a very easy, expected experience, just the way I described. And if not, let me know in the chat room, because it's so infrequent that anything, that a mistake is made or something happens. I can't remember the last time it's happened. So buy with confidence. Or roll the dice and buy from some other seller online. And when you do that, I can't help you anymore. So if you want my backing, use the links we provide, because at least I know about it. If you go and buy something somewhere I don't know nothing about, what do you think I can do? There's nothing I can do. That was your decision. I can't help you. All right, so with that, also I want you to know that I don't make any commission if you buy or not. If you buy Windows or you buy Office, you buy 100 copies or 1 copy, if you buy every day or once every 10 years, I don't make any money from it. Basically, I'm trying to help my community by showing you what it's like to run a real computer repair business so that you have something to compare to the enthusiast tech channels that overwhelm YouTube, where they don't do this simply because they don't know how and they don't hold any accountability. Can you imagine if you called somebody out to fix your computer and they screwed it up, and then when you call them back, they say, tough luck? It would be unacceptable, right? But that's what most of the content creators on YouTube do when they promote products and you buy them and you have a problem. They say, tough luck. That's between you and whoever you bought the product from. That has nothing to do with us. Yeah, it does have to do with you. You're the one who endorsed it. You're the one who recommended it. You're the one who's profiting from it. But then if there's a problem, you don't want to get involved. That's an enthusiast. And that's one way you can tell an enthusiast from a professional, is accountability. That's it. All right. With that little diatribe out of the way, let me get this out of the box again. I had to put it away to clear, we've done a lot of work since then. And we're just going to set this up. Now, there's nothing wrong with this at all. We're just doing this because we can for educational purposes. And again, there's no reason that I can think of, no common reason, that anybody should have to reinstall Windows in the entire lifetime of their computer. If this was Windows XP, if we go back to 1995, I would be saying something very different, but this isn't 1995 anymore. There's a lot of things we used to say in the 90s that if you say them today, you'll be a social outcast. How dare you say such offensive and insensitive things that were once acceptable? That society has changed and you can't say certain things anymore. Well, the technology's changed, and so the lessons and the processes have changed. But unlike society that will sort of self-enforce their own constantly changing societal rules, people have to make the effort to get themselves educated, or they just forever don't know what they don't know and continue to go around in circles and not and do things the harder way than necessary. I mean, they can. It's not breaking any rules to do it, but why would you knowingly and willfully keep yourself ignorant and make things harder than they need to be? I'll tell you what, we have, let me get these out of the way. We have some amazing power tools today. And I know you're like, power tools? You just changed the subject. When I used to work on cars, we could barely afford tools. They were very expensive. And, you'd have to go somewhere like Sears or something like that. Even like Auto Shack, which at the time was called Auto Shack before they changed it to AutoZone. Tools were pretty sparse and expensive. To get a tire off my car in the 1980s, I used to get a big tire spanner. That's that big cross-looking thing. And just with muscle, try and loosen that bolt. I've even, when I was younger, jumped up and down on it, hoping I don't break my ankle or my leg by slipping, just to break the nut free. Today, you go to Harbor Freight Tool for 20 bucks, you can get a battery-operated impact wrench that doesn't need to be plugged in. Hold it in your hand, put it against your tire lug nut, push the button, and it goes brrr, and it spins it off just like a pneumatic air tool. Back in the 80s, only people with a lot of money could afford those pneumatic tools. You go into a mechanic shop and you could hear the zing, zing, and you're like, what's that? Oh, I wish I had one of those at home, until you hear the air compressor kick on to start filling the air tank, and then you can't hear. It's so loud. Now, I'm glad I don't have one of those at home. These electric power tools, electric socket wrenches, electric impact drills, holy cow. I mean, just hanging a shelf or putting together furniture, you'd be turning your wrist and it's like, start getting sore. Today, you just use an electric drill, put a battery pack on it, zing, zing, zing. And if you're not if you're not careful, you'll bust the end right off the screw. That is how far technology has come just in the last 40 years. You think I'm using a tire spanner? Remember jumper cables? Do you still have jumper cables? Why? Probably because you don't know any better. You go on Amazon, you buy these little lithium battery packs about this big, charge it up, put it in the car. It'll stay charged for probably 10, 12 months. And then if your car doesn't start because your battery's dead, you just grab your little jump start pack, it's about this big, attach it to the battery, start your car. You could start your car about 40 times on average with one of these little battery packs. Keep it in the car. You see somebody stranded, you want to help them? You can damage a car by hooking up jumper cables. You can damage the electronics. Throw the jumper cables in the trash. Get yourself one of these lithium-ion battery packs. You're good to go. You do it yourself. You don't have to wait for anybody to help. You don't need to wait for a tow truck. You don't need AAA. Just attach the terminals, turn it on, start the car, detach it, put it away. And then you can change your battery whenever you feel like it. You can just keep using it until you get around to changing your battery. So they're like 50 bucks. Yeah, I don't have jumper cables anymore. That's all old school, out of date, obsolete way of jump starting a car. Completely. Much more trouble, slower, more complicated, with more probability for damage. And jumper cables are like 25, 30 bucks. And these battery packs, when they're on sale, you can pick them up for about the same price. But you can get a really nice good one that can start a diesel motor, like an 8-liter diesel motor, for less than $100. And they'll jump it over and over and over on one single charge. And all I do is about once or twice a year, I plug it in and charge it up, just in case I need it. But I'd say, you know, keep it in the car, charge it fully before you know, as soon as you order one, charge it fully, put it in your car, and forget you have it. And if a year goes by, hopefully you remember you should probably charge it, because the battery will slowly lose its charge. But they're lithium batteries. They don't lose their charge as fast as nickel-cadmium batteries used to. NiCad batteries, you'd go maybe a week and it'd be dead. Not with lithium. Times have changed, man. My car battery died the other day. I finally got to use my jump starter. I was so happy. I was like, oh boy, I finally get to use it. I wasn't upset at all. I hooked it up, hit the start button, car fired right up. I'm like, it's crazy that little tiny jump pack can start this giant car. That is what I'm trying to tell you about. Things today are so much better that those old jumper cables that you learned, time to unlearn. Forget about them. Throw them in the garbage. Thank me later. All right, let's get this hooked up so we can start our process. So I'm going to grab, let's see, I need a power cable. Yeah, those little jump packs, you can go on Amazon and just search for car jump starter. And there's dozens to choose from. Read the reviews, pick which one looks good to you for the price and everything. And again, you can thank me later. It just makes life so much easier. You can even use it as an emergency battery charger, in the sense of, like, let's say your cell phone battery is dead and you're stuck in the middle of nowhere and your car battery is dead. These things often have a compass on them, a flashing light to grab attention, and a USB port to charge your cell phone battery or any other USB device. So they don't just, many of them will do more than just jumpstart your car. They can be a survival device. Could save your life. Okay, let me grab my keyboard and my mouse. Nah, my life's not worth 50 bucks. I'm not going to spend the 50 bucks. I'll just die. Sarcasm. All right, let's put the keyboard and mouse in here, like so. And then I need an HDMI cable, which is right here. Okay, so why did we review this? Well, I've been trying to find mini PCs at around a $400 price point that have the potential to be a recommendation from me. Before, when everything was cheap and plentiful, you could pretty much choose whatever you wanted. Today, though, the price of RAM and solid-state drives is really boxed out a lot of options for a lot of people who can't afford what they really want. I mean, I really want a Rolls Royce, but I can't afford it. So I learned to live without it. And in fact, I've accepted that in my life, I will likely never own one. If that's my biggest complaint in life, I'd say you got it pretty damn good. Now, when you don't have a house to live in, when you don't have any friends, and nobody's there to help you, and you're out on the streets alone, I don't know how much of a future you've got left. It's very dangerous to live that way for health reasons and also for social reasons. So, you know, no matter how bad you think you've got it, you know, at least it's not like that for you. Hopefully you find gratitude in that instead of just always wanting more and being upset. Like the Rolling Stones said, you can't always get what you want, but you will get what you need. Okay, so what we're looking at are budget machines around $400 or less. Preferably, they come with RAM and storage already in them. So for this example, this is the KAMRUI Pinova series, the P1. Let me show you their website and give you the specs on this, just as a reminder, or if you're new here and you missed part one. Let me go over to the KAMRUI website where we have a link in the video notes. Somewhere here. That'll do it. Now, a Ryzen 4300 is about as old as I'll go. If it says Ryzen 3500 or 3000 series, I'm not interested. I think it's too old. So 4300 is now the absolute minimal I will go on an AMD processor, and maybe for another year. And after that, I'll say it's too old. But for right now, as a new computer purchase, it's a solid buy. I've also just realized KAMRUI is saying they've got a 3-year warranty, which is almost unheard of. We know Minisforum will do that, but this is the only time I've ever seen anybody else offer that kind of a warranty. For $379.99, you're getting that processor with 16 gigs of RAM and 1 terabyte of storage. Now, if you price out 16 gigs of RAM and 1 terabyte of storage, I wonder how close you're going to get to this price. Because I promise you, no matter how much under this price, no matter what's left as change from buying 16 gigs and 1 terabyte, that's not enough money to get you the case, the motherboard, the CPU, the Wi-Fi card, the power brick. If you bought all that individually in parts, you'd probably be closer to $600. So for all of this to be built and sold this cheap is what drew my attention to it. Then it's like, okay, well, what if I want to reinstall my operating system? Well, that's where we're at today, because we already did the first part. Just looking at some of the specs of the chip, looks like we've got some typos in here. It is DDR4 RAM, which looks like it can be upgraded. It is only Wi-Fi 5, but if you're on this kind of a budget, you probably don't need Wi-Fi 6, 6E, or 7, or you'd have more money. All of this costs money. And the higher end you want, the more it costs. There's nothing shameful in that. Maybe all you need anyway. This is a 4-core CPU that'll turbo up to 3.7 gigahertz. It is not a rocket ship. It does not have any hyperthreading. So you'll see it's 4 cores, 4 threads. For most people out there, this is a very fast computer that more than meets their needs. It can power 3 monitors at the same time in 4K at 60 hertz. It's not a joke. This thing is incredibly powerful. And the problem is we run into some enthusiasts that, you know, if they don't have a rocket ship, then, you know, it's not good enough for them. Listen, if I could afford to be that demanding and intolerant, maybe I would be. But I'm just like the rest of you, man. I'm just trying to figure out what I can do to get by until things get better without setting myself up for headaches and nightmares by buying something crappy. So I'm buying these units that I'm finding on Amazon in order to determine if this is something I can recommend. And so far, I absolutely do recommend this for what you're getting for the money. It seems like you could almost take the RAM and storage out of it and sell them on eBay and end up with a nice bare bones computer and almost break even on your costs. That's how much of a deal it is. course, what you'll do with it without RAM and storage, I don't know, but maybe you break it into parts and sell the parts on eBay. You could make a lot more than what they're charging. Of course, you're going to put a lot of labor into taking it all apart, taking pictures, writing descriptions, putting it in packaging, taking it to the post office, shipping it, sending tracking info, and then paying eBay their fees. But I'm just saying, financially, just looking at the numbers, this looks like a really good deal. All right, so they don't tell us the speed of the network interface card, but that's okay because we've already covered that in part 1. So just so you know, this is what we're looking at. And it does appear they are in stock and you can buy directly from KAMRUI. I'm guessing Mara doesn't have an Amazon link because maybe this model isn't on Amazon. I don't know. But you could check there as well. So with that, let me get back over to camera 1 and let's get this powered on. So the keyboard and mouse, HDMI, power brick. I think I can just turn this on now. Yep, there's the power light. Let's run over here. This is plugged into this computer. This is the computer that's doing all the work. The video you're watching right now is being processed through this computer. And I thought, wouldn't it be cool to show you the tools behind the scenes that are making this live broadcast possible? That's why this is here. This wouldn't be possible without a computer, and a pretty powerful one at that. And I thought, these mini computers are so powerful now, I can just put it on the desk. If I hit this power button, this whole stream ends. Okay, so this computer is plugged into here. There's a video capture in here. And let's jump over there and see if we've booted. Now, just for complete thoroughness, let me go full screen on this for me. And let me restart it so you can get an idea of just how fast this is. So we'll hit restart. This is real time, this is live, and what you're watching is taking place in actual real time. Interestingly, we're getting an update, which of course we are, because anything that could potentially slow down showing you how fast this is Murphy's Law. Because it's been off since the last time we looked at this, which I guess has been over a month ago. There have been some updates that are downloaded automatically in the background while I've been talking. So we'll let that do its thing. That's perfectly normal. And then let's see what our boot up time looks like. There's the BIOS. Compare this to the computer you're using right now in the startup time. No matter how big and expensive your computer was, look at the clock. Look how long it takes for this to get to the desktop. Compare the same thing to your computer. Tell me which one's faster and which one's cheaper. All right, so before you turn your nose up or assume anything, you know, all I can tell you is the reality isn't known until you've experienced it firsthand. You can imagine it all day, but your imagination and reality may be worlds apart. This is how we can, you know, confidently let people know what to expect so nobody feels like they were ripped off or taken advantage of. If I go in the device manager, just out of curiosity, let's jump over to the device manager and look at our network adapters. We have a Realtek 1 gig, where is it? Right here, the family controller, that's a 1 gig LAN. And also the Wi-Fi, which is 802.11ac Wi-Fi 5, is also made by Realtek, which also provides the Bluetooth wireless. So everything is Realtek here. I see Mara wants my attention.
I just want to let you know that the P1 is now available on Amazon. I wasn't there before.
So the P1 is now on the Amazon page. So if you're looking in the video notes, you don't see it, hit the refresh button. And then I'll show everybody in a minute. Thank you for updating that.
Sure.
Some people like the confidence of buying from Amazon because returns are a lot easier, the shipping's a lot faster. You know what to expect. Even if the price is a little bit more, because Amazon charges a commission, it wouldn't surprise me if the price is a little bit more on Amazon than it would be buying from the manufacturer direct, because Amazon does collect a payment fee for anything sold on their platform. Anyway, that is what I wanted to show you. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just shut this down, and we're going to pretend like we want to do a complete wipe and reinstall. Oh, it looks like I didn't run any benchmarks on this. Looks like I had saved this for part 2 so I could run Crystal Disk Mark info on it and maybe Cinebench. I don't have those results, which likely means we didn't run those tests. So let's see if we can get through all that today. First thing we're going to do is we're just going to shut the computer down. Watch how fast this shuts down. As soon as you see that word shutting down go away, the system is off. So here it is in real time. See it says no signal? That system is powered off. Does your system shut off that quickly? Did your system only cost $379? Do you think the amount of RAM you have makes any difference in that? It doesn't. So there's this imagination that a lot of end users have where they think things matter and they don't. And until you've verified things matter, you really don't know. So in some cases it does matter on some software some users use. But in most cases it makes very little difference compared to what the end user thinks it's going to do. There's a disconnect between what somebody thinks a higher end processor or more RAM really does versus what it actually does in reality for them because of how they use the computer. I would argue a computer is being held up by the person using it. Even the cheapest computer you can buy is likely much faster than whatever you're using your computer for. It's probably overkill for most end users, and that you won't even utilize the amount of resources in cheap computers today. Now, the enthusiasts, the ones who are very demanding, again, if I only eat at the finest restaurants and I refuse to eat at McDonald's, then one would assume I'm not too concerned about how much it costs, that I can afford it. But if you're that way and you can't afford it, the problem is you. Okay, that's not anybody's fault. You just have a disconnect with reality and being reasonable. So please don't be that way. You get what you pay for. And if you can't afford filet mignon, don't expect to be fed filet mignon. Okay, it's pretty common sense, but it needs to be said in society today. A lot of entitlement. Now, with the machine off, what I'm going to do is I've got my Windows 11 flash drive that I made for free from Microsoft, fully legal. In fact, Microsoft wants you to do this. It will not activate without a key, but since we've already got a key on here, that key is registered online with the serial number of this board. So I want you to pay particular attention that I never enter a product key, and that after we go to Windows Update, our system will be auto-activated, which means the key will have been reassigned and the system activated, and Microsoft doesn't alert you to this. It happens silently and automatically without your consent in the background and without your knowledge. So unless you know to look for it, you know what I mean? Like there are things happening that most end users have no concept of because it's not being brought to their attention. So I'm trying to bring this to your attention so you understand how things work, so it's not a mystery. Now let me plug in the flash drive, or just go to one of the blue USB ports here. And then I'm going to turn this on and try and get directly into the BIOS, which is usually delete or F2, or typically the most common. Or we can just go into the BIOS through Windows itself. But let's just say your Windows isn't working. All right, so then what would you do? You'd have to hit the delete key or the F2. Sometimes there's a sticker on the bottom of the computer that might tell you how to get into the BIOS. Otherwise, you can use another computer or your phone to go to the company's website and pull the documentation out and read it. I know, God forbid. You could even make a little label maker once you figure it out and stick it on the bottom so you can, all you have to do is, look at it next time if it's not already there. You don't have to research it every time. But why you would be needing to get into the BIOS, aside from something like this, you shouldn't need to get in there unless you're just curious. You want to monkey with it, and then, have fun with your toy. If this is a tool you're using to make money and you're monkeying with it like it's a toy, hey, it's your money. You can't operate your business because you decided to monkey with something because you were bored. I hope you weren't using any mission critical tools that you rely on in your life and find yourself in a panic attack. All right, let's turn it back on. Okay, and let's jump back over here. If I got to do this quick, I got to start hitting delete, 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 delete. Hopefully I'll catch it in time. There we go. Now we're into the BIOS. We're going to go all the way up at the top where it says main, advanced, chipset, security, boot. and then save and exit. And right under save and exit, it says boot override. We're not changing the boot order. Just for this one boot only, I want it to, instead of booting from Windows, I want it to boot to my flash drive, which is a SanDisk Extreme flash drive. You'll see I've got two partitions. I'm going to boot from partition 1 and press enter. Now the machine's going to restart, and instead of defaulting to booting into the hard drive or the NVMe drive, it's going to instead boot from my flash drive. But you cannot tell, can you? It looks exactly the same, except look at the screen that comes up now. It's a Windows setup screen. Now, when we're at the Windows setup screen, we're going to go through this process as if we built the computer brand new. Nothing's changed. Next, keyboard or input method is US. Next, we're going to install Windows 11, and I agree that everything will be deleted on my hard drive. Yep. So you know you're going to lose everything, right? You have backups, right? I know you do. You're not a fool. You don't think, oh, I don't need backups. You wouldn't possibly be that ignorant and disconnected from reality to think that you don't need backups. There's no way anybody watching my videos could be that unaware of basic computer use. Hit next. And then it's going to take a look at our system and what's available. So it's kind of analyzing what we have. And it's going to come up here and say, hey, you know, this is a license agreement. You don't have a choice. If you decline it, you can't install Windows. So you have to hit accept. And it says, okay, you've accepted the terms, so I can continue looking through your system. And it finds all of these disk zeros. This is actually one drive. Disk 0 is the physical drive, and then the number of partitions are what's on that physical drive. If you're having trouble picturing this concept, let's say you're at the movie theater and you're leaving the theater, you're leaving the movie theater. Let's say you're sat down and you're watching a movie in the movie theater and you need to use the bathroom. So you get up and you leave that particular theater, but you're still in the actual movie theater building to find the restroom. So the restroom would be one restroom, and then in that restroom you will have multiple toilets and urinals, at least in the case of a men's room, separated by partitions. You see? But what if you wanted to convert that restroom and turn it into something else? You'd want to take all the partitions out and all the toilets and urinals out. And you could reset that room and turn it into anything you want. Well, a hard drive is the same. You see partition 1, 2, 3, and 4 all on disk 0. We're going to erase each one of those by clicking on each one and hitting delete. And that's going to completely wipe the drive out. So one by one, we're going to select each partition on disk 0 until there are no partitions on disk 0. Disk 1 is the flash drive we just booted to. That's our Windows installer. Leave that one alone. So you see here it says disk 0 is unallocated. That's the way a brand new drive is. If you were to buy a brand new drive and you take it out of the box brand new, this is how it comes out of the box. Ready for you to put in your PlayStation, your Mac, your external storage, your Windows computer, your Linux computer. They all use different file systems, and that's why it's not predefined, because the whole world doesn't use what you're using. So this is unallocated. The good news is Windows 11 takes care of it for you. It will automatically create and format the partitions for you. When we hit next, it says, okay, you're sure about this? We say, yeah, we're sure. Hit install, and there it goes. It is now recreating, it's rebuilding the bathroom. It's torn out all the old partitions and all the old toilets. It's put the new partitions and the new urinals and the new toilets in right now. I think that's a pretty catchy analogy to use, because it's sort of, imagine if all the toilets are just bare and there's no partitions. It's an uncomfortable thought. I want it to be an uncomfortable thought. I want this lesson to sink in, that those partitions are called a partition because of what they're doing. Those partitions in the restroom are doing the same thing the partitions on a hard drive are doing. They're critical, and they're there for keeping things, what's the word I want? Keeping things basically secure. Essentially, you know, if you're in this little partition with a door and you've closed it, you don't have to worry about somebody sneaking up behind you or necessarily robbing you or pickpocketing you. You're in there by yourself, right? There's a security to that. In much the same way, any partition offers a form of security, a form of safety, a form of mindfulness, in the sense that you are aware that you can relax a little bit because there's not a lot of spatial awareness that you have to look out of the corners of your eyes for. And an operating system works very similar to that, in that there are certain parts of the operating system they want to keep separated for security reasons and for system recovery reasons. So Windows takes care of all this. Now, this first step, what you're seeing happen on the screen right now, is not only is it partitioning and formatting that internal drive, it is also copying over all of the installation files from the flash drive onto the internal hard drive. It's not actually installing Windows yet. It's preparing. I know it says installing Windows 11, which it's in the process, but until it reboots, the very first step is to prepare the drive, to copy over the installation files, then it reboots, and then the installation files on the local hard drive install Windows on the local hard drive, and you no longer need the flash drive plugged in. It won't hurt you to leave it plugged in. But after that first reboot, you're done with that flash drive. Everything else happens internally inside of your computer. Just so you know. Now, this won't take very long. And once it's installed, any future reset will be done in the settings area of Windows, just like your phone. You will reset Windows from this point forward, not with a wipe and reinstall like I'm showing you. Unless you want to do things the most difficult way, the most time-consuming way, and the most frustrating way possible, be my guest. But if you want to take advantage of modern technology to make your life simpler, less complicated, and just make the whole process faster, then you will use the built-in reset tool in Windows 11 and in Windows 10. Once again, it is exactly the same as resetting your phone. If you're getting rid of your phone, you're going to trade it in, and you don't want any of your data left on it, how do you securely erase it? Well, in the world of Windows, the most common mindless thing people say that they learned 25 years ago is you wipe it and reinstall it. That was 25 years ago. Today, you'll do it the same way as you would on your phone before you trade it in. You're going to reset it using a button and let the operating system you already have clean itself, and it'll probably do a better job than you can as far as being recoverable. Once the phone resets itself, you can't recover anything off of it. The same will be true for Windows too. But in people's imaginations, they think that I'm wrong, and that's okay. They can think that. I know the reality. I've tested it. If anybody wants to test it and can prove me wrong, make a video and show me, because I would love to see that. I know it's not possible. But if that makes you feel better to do it the hard way, I'm not telling you not to. If you want to do things the hard way, be my guest. I will not join you, and I will not encourage it. But that's on you. Now, as you can see, we're already, 77% of our process, and then we're going to get our reboot here. And then you'll notice then it says it's actually installing Windows. So this is just the preparation to get Windows ready or to get the computer and the drive ready for the Windows installation. And again, this, as quick as this is, it still takes much longer because there may be missing Windows updates. We're going to be missing drivers. If we use the reset tool instead, we don't have to mess with any of that stuff. Again, faster, easier. It's really common sense once you know what you don't know and let go of that old knowledge. Now, if we're working on a computer from 25 years ago, then what you learned 25 years ago would still apply. So if I have a computer like Windows Millennium, Windows 98, Windows XP, then everything you learned back then still applies when working on that old computer. But if you're working on a modern computer, you need to understand. You need to question yourself, does what I have learned still apply to modern computers and operating systems? Some of it might, but some of it won't. And if you never educate yourself, then you forever remain in this stasis. It's like you're refusing to acknowledge any changes because, God forbid, it might make you uncomfortable. But before we can get comfortable, we have to be uncomfortable. Otherwise, how would you know the difference? So a little bit of discomfort in the learning process will make you more comfortable later on. It's like when medicine tastes terrible. You can't stand the medicine. They go, well, you're not going to get better faster unless you take the medicine. So you swallow down the bitter medicine and you get better sooner. Or you refuse to because you're convinced medicine won't help and you suffer longer than you need to. You're free to do that as a human being. If you choose to torture yourself, knock yourself out. As a professional working for a living, I don't have the luxury of allowing my emotions to dictate my actions. I have to follow what is logical and profitable, what is most expedient for the customer, keeping the customer's price down. And if I can help a customer faster, that means I can get to the next customer sooner. That means I can make more money that day. And that means I can handle more customers in a day, which makes my business more profitable. Regardless of how I feel about it, ultimately, I want happy customers, and that means I got to work quickly. I got to do it right the first time. I got to do it as inexpensively as possible. And, you know, the next customer is waiting. And the longer they wait, the better the chances are they end up saying, I'm tired of waiting for you. I went to somebody else. I lose that job. I lose that customer. I lose that customer's future work. I lose that customer's future referrals. Like, it kills my business. It'll kill any business, restaurant, anything. If you don't do the job right, quickly, do it right the first time, and don't gouge the customer, you may never see that customer again otherwise. How do you think I've stayed in business for 35 years? Is it pure luck? Doubtful. There's definitely luck involved in being at the right place at the right time. But when you're given an opportunity, you've got to be able to deliver the goods. Okay, so it's a combination of things. It's not a magic spell and it's not a guarantee. But if they call your name up to bat and you finally have your chance at bat and you don't know how to play baseball, you're probably never going to go up to bat again. But if you've been practicing and you're good and they call your name up and you connect with the ball, listen, you're probably going to be up to bat again. And the better you perform, the more they're going to like you. And I wouldn't treat myself with any less respect than the customers. So I wouldn't sit at home going, well, I would never do this for a customer, but I'm going to do it for myself. Why would I disrespect myself like that? When you're respecting other people more than you respect yourself, there's a psychological issue happening there that I can't help you with. But I think you deserve to have the right work done right the first time and to not work harder than you need to, even if you don't have the motivator I have, which is to earn money and help people. If you're just doing it for yourself so it doesn't matter, I would say it does matter. And that you should treat yourself like a customer. And when you don't do the job well, you should be as pissed off at yourself as a customer would be. And that should drive you to want to do better. Or just not try and just pay somebody else to do it if it's just not your cup of tea. Now, Windows is fully installed, as you can see on the screen, and this is our out-of-box setup. So what region are we in? We're in the United States. What language do we speak? What language do we want on the screen? We want it to be English. So right there, US, that'll be our keyboard layout. There's all different kinds of keyboard layouts. There's other countries around the world that have different alphabets, different words. This list is quite long. The world is a big place. People forget that the world isn't just where they live. So where I live, it's US. I click yes. Do I want to add a secondary language? I do not, so I'm going to hit skip. Then it's going to want us to connect to a network, and you'll see the Wi-Fi driver loaded because all the Wi-Fi SSIDs appear. But down here it says I don't have internet. I'm going to click on that. I am not plugged into the network yet because I don't want Microsoft to force me to create an online account or to download updates when I'm trying to install. That can make your install take 5 times longer. So I keep this offline until I get to the desktop. So put your name in. I'm just going to put the word user, and I'm going to leave the password blank. That way, when it reboots, it'll go right to my desktop with no hesitation or delays. How you choose to set that up is entirely up to you, but for this demonstration, we're going to keep this simple, and then you can then make it as complicated as you want. I like to leave location settings on for my privacy because that'll keep my date and time always accurate. There's no reason for you to ever manually set your date and time unless you just want to continue to live in 1962. There's no more flashing 12 on your VCR. Those days are gone. Let the computer handle this for you, and it'll take care of daylight saving time for you. If your internal clock adds or loses minutes over time, it'll self-correct. You never have to touch your date and time unless you turn that off because you're more concerned about your privacy. Trust me, nobody cares about your privacy more than you do. So if that's that important to you and you want to just keep everything doing the hard way, nobody's going to know one way or the other. Unless you're a celebrity, a politician, if you're famous, nobody knows what you're doing. They don't care. You blend in with the rest of us. It's called security through obscurity. But the minute you start standing out, doing things really bizarrely because you're worried about your privacy, everybody's looking at you now. You're getting the exact opposite of what you wanted. It's your choice. Knock yourself out. I'm going to hit accept now. And that's pretty much all it should need to begin to finalize our Windows installation, to customize it for the US, in English, for the US keyboard. Right now, that's what it's doing. And then as soon as this is done, it takes us to the desktop. Once I'm at the desktop, then I will plug in or connect to the Wi-Fi, like plug into the Ethernet cable or connect. Only then, not when Windows wants us to. But did you notice it never asked me for a product key? Did you notice it didn't ask me what version of Windows I want? Because this computer from this manufacturer has embedded that in the BIOS. If they didn't, like if I built this computer myself, then I would have had to answer those additional questions. And one of the ways it knows which Windows version to install is based on your product key. So it'll normally say, what's your product key during the install? I never, ever put my product key in during an install. There's an option that says I don't have a product key. Pick it. Your install will continue, and it'll say, okay, well, without knowing a product key, I can't possibly know what version of Windows you want. Well, I know I'm going to buy a product key for Windows 11 Pro, so I will choose Windows 11 Pro is the version of Windows I want to install. It's not rocket science. We'll go through this whole process just the same. Just like this, we got to the desktop. And you notice how all of these boxes here are grayed out. They're ghosted. If I grab my Ethernet cable now, which I'm going to do, and I'm going to plug it into the back of the computer, if the driver has loaded for this network card, watch the bottom right corner. You see that globe? That'll turn to a little flashing cable next to a little screen. That'll go away in just a moment. When it does, these icons will now populate to what is legal in the United States. This would be different if we were in the European Union or in other countries, and it can tell that from the IP address of your internet service provider. Now we can go to Windows Update by just going to Settings, and then we go Windows Updates. Check for updates, and while we're waiting, I personally like to change these preferences. This is my own personal preference. You can choose differently, or you can choose to follow along. If you are my customer, then this is what I'm doing for you. Okay? If you're not my customer and you have enough knowledge to know what you're doing, or you don't, I don't care either way. Because you're not paying me. Any problems you create for yourself are not my problems until you hire me. So you notice here under optional updates, it says there's 5. Click on that. We're going to grab every single one of those. We don't have anything plugged in like printers or external drives. None of that. Not yet. It's too early to do that. We're going to download and install that along with any other updates. And that's the very first thing we do. And the reason we're going to do that is if we right-click on the Start button and look in the Device Manager, we can see how many device drivers are missing. Every computer is different. Some may not be missing any, others may be missing tons. This one's missing 3. 1, 2, and 3. That may be covered by Windows Update or it may not. I don't know until I download what's available from Windows Update, reboot the computer, and check it and see if there's still anything missing. Anything that's missing, we're going to go to the manufacturer's website, go to their support section, and download those drivers if we need to. Otherwise, you don't need to. That's it. You're done. While it's doing all this, by the way, it's probably already activated us. Quietly, silently, without telling us. It reassigned our product key and our activation. Check this out. If I just type activation, it says see if Windows is activated. Let's see. Yep. But I never put a product key in. I never clicked the button activate. How did that happen? This is 2026. This isn't Windows XP anymore. You see what I'm getting at? You see the point I'm trying to make? So all those old school methods no longer apply. Now, you see these updates that failed? That's because they were already installing automatically. When I manually tried to install them, only one Highlander, there can be only one. Whichever one succeeds first, the other second one fails. So we're going to hit retry. See, Microsoft doesn't disclose everything it's doing in the background to you, because then that leads to a lot of support questions that they're completely irrelevant. Just leave it alone. It'll let you know if there's a problem. In this case, this is a problem that I caused by forcing updates while it was already automatically getting updates, whether I liked it or not, without telling me. So when I hit retry, you'll notice all of those failed updates that say retry, they don't come back again because they already succeeded. Once we're done with this process, we're going to reboot the computer, we're going to check our device manager, and we're going to see if there's any missing device drivers. Well, you know, as long as it's not wanting me to reboot, I'm going to continually keep rechecking for updates, because sometimes there are updates to your updates. And this is a fully updated Windows install media. So there's always going to be updates regardless. The antivirus itself is updated numerous times every day. So don't be surprised when that pops up. That's because hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of bad people around the world are trying to infect your computer and steal your money. And in response to that, this antivirus has to constantly be updated. You talk about some job security to counter those attacks. So they find another way to attack, they find another way to counter it. So they find another way to attack, they find another way to counter it. This is happening tens of thousands of times a day in milliseconds. That's how fast it is. All right, we're going to check one more time, and hopefully it will tell us that there's no more updates. You're up to date. Now let's reboot to make sure, even though it didn't ask us to, it's just a good practice, because if the system doesn't reboot or it has an error, and we do more than this, we won't know which way to look to find a problem. What caused the problem? If you do 10 things and then you restart the computer and the computer has an error, which of those 10 things caused your problem? Doesn't that sound like a nightmare? Have fun with that if that's what you want to do, because you think you're saving time and maybe you get lucky. But what if you don't get lucky? Then what are you going to do? You're going to start all over again. Wipe the drive, reinstall Windows, and don't install so many things at the same time so you can identify which thing you're having a problem with. Basic 101 diagnostic, Sherlock Holmes, you know, process of elimination. And the system reboots so fast. I mean, how lazy do you have to be? So we're already back up and running. Let's take a look in our device manager and see if that made any change, because it may not have. So right click on the start button. We're going to go to the device manager. and see if we have any other errors in here. All right, we had 3, we're down to 2. Don't worry about what those are just yet. Because this is an AMD computer, if you have an AMD computer, I don't care if it's a laptop, a desktop, if you built it yourself, if it's a mini PC, if you haven't installed AMD Adrenalin and you think your system is maintaining itself, well, ignorance is bliss, because what I'm about to tell you could turn your computer to like better than it was with new. If you have an AMD computer, this is critical information. I don't care if you think you have the latest update. I'm going to close that and reopen it. I want you to know you have the latest update. So you type in AMD Adrenalin, and this first link is from AMD.com. You click on that. You click on download software. Whether you think you need it or not, if you have an AMD-based computer, it won't hurt you if you've already got this. It will only help you if you already have it, but yours is old and you don't know it's old. This will update it, giving your performance, your reliability, and your security a big boost. It could even result in your computer running better than it ever has ran since you bought it, but only if you have the knowledge to know. So we're going to accept the cookies here. Now let me download the software, and then I'm going to click download Windows drivers. There is no AMD computer that is immune from this. If you don't do this, ignorance is bliss. You don't know any better. So that downloaded this small file. I'm going to click on it, and that's going to start the AMD Adrenalin software. So we'll say yes. I don't need the browser open anymore. We'll close that out. Give that a second. It's going to analyze our system, because if it's an Intel system, it's going to say your computer doesn't qualify for this. Or if it's an old AMD system that isn't supported anymore, it'll give you a message that you don't meet the requirements. Other than that, even if you have the same version installed, it won't hurt you to put it on again. Look at here. We're going to get the graphics driver that's built into the CPU, and we're going to get the chipset drivers. This is like, the chipset drivers are like the fuel in your car. If you've got some really terrible fuel, your car's going to run like crap. You're going to think something's wrong with your car, when in fact there's nothing wrong with the car. Think of the chipset drivers as good quality fuel to replace whatever old stagnant fuel you've got in the tank now. By hitting to accept and express install, it's going to then give us our latest video drivers and our latest chipset drivers. And your performance will go through the roof if what you've got is missing or old. Just this, it's completely free. All you have to do is have the knowledge to go and get it yourself. This is typical computer maintenance. It'd be like not understanding there's aisles in a grocery store. So you always go down one aisle and you always buy the same thing. And you may not be eating healthy, and you may not be eating something you really like. So I'm saying open your eyes and be aware that there's other aisles and other foods. You're free to make a choice. You're also free to not know there are choices because you never bothered to turn your head and look. Nothing's stopping you from having a better experience except yourself. And there's too many users out there that are so intimidated by the technology, they don't want to mess with anything. And if that's the case, you shouldn't be entertaining this video at all. You should just hire somebody to do it for you. Preferably somebody who's professional, not just a friend or your kids. Have somebody who actually you can hold accountable to, that you're paying money to. The reason I make these videos is for individuals that have the motivation to want to learn this and do it themselves. I'm going to show you exactly how a paid professional does it, so you don't have to hire me. How stupid of me, how stupid could I be to tell you how to not hire me? To tell you that you don't need my business, and you don't need anybody else who does what I do either. If you have the motivation and you pay attention and you follow step by step everything I'm showing, you will get exactly the same results and save your money. It's very satisfying. And if I teach the world how to do it, I will have to find a new job. I am literally working against myself by sharing my knowledge with you, because I think that's more important. But there's a lot of people, they don't want the knowledge. They push back. They say, shut up, Carey, I don't want to know this. I'm not interested. I go, that's great. Here's my number. Here's my fee. Call me and hire me. I'll be glad to work for you. I don't mind. Either way, I don't mind. The problem is there's too many videos with misinformation, false information, and sometimes the content creator that's making it isn't doing it on purpose. They think they know and they don't know because they're not being held accountable by anybody. So they don't really know what they're doing, but they believe they know what they're doing. Stay away from those people. They're dangerous. With all of that's installed now, and if I give this a minute, you'll see that the software will, I think it'll start automatically in a second. In the meantime, while I'm waiting, I'm going to right click and go to Device Manager and see if that took care of everything. There's one thing left. This multimedia controller is left. Since we didn't get it from Windows Update and we didn't get it from the AMD Adrenalin and the chipset drivers, that means it's a piece of hardware on the motherboard that this manufacturer has selected. So we're going to go to the manufacturer to find it. The way we're going to do that, let me close this out. We're going to, and I think the AMD Adrenalin is down here. No, it's not. Where is it? Where did it go? Usually it pops up on its own. That's the installer. Huh. Let me reboot, see what happens. It didn't say we needed to, but let me just reboot it one more time, because remember, if you do a bunch of things and then you reboot and there's a problem, how do you know which of those things caused your problem? Good luck figuring that out. If you just do one thing at a time and reboot in between, you will much more quickly, if there's a problem, you will much more quickly figure out what caused it. And then once you know that, it's super easy to fix it. You just need to Google it if need be, or you can always reach out to us here at the channel. We can help you. All right, so you see how fast that rebooted? A shutdown and a restart light. How fast does your system do that? For $379, that's a bargain. All right, so let's do, let's see, right click on the start menu, back to Device Manager, see if anything's changed. Nope, nothing's changed. I'd like to know where my AMD software went. Maybe on the 4000 series, the AMD software isn't as what I'm recognizing with higher end, more expensive, newer models of AMD processors. That would be my guess. But be that as it may, what I'm going to do is find that driver. So we're going to type in KAMRUI, because that's the manufacturer, and the word support, just in your whatever search engine you use. And look at the first link. I'm not getting these drivers from a third party. I'm not going to go to Major Geeks. I'm not going to download some driver program. This isn't the old days anymore. That is profoundly dangerous and unreliable. And if you wish to go down that road, you will go down that road without me or I will not condone that behavior. Oh, Carey, it works for me all the time. That's what everybody says until it doesn't. And they go, oh, I'm in this situation. And it's a very difficult situation because they did something in a non-traditional way without any support or help and just buried themselves into a hole and they need help getting out of it. Well, good luck. You set yourself there, you get yourself out. If you follow my instructions, that will never happen. Never. We're eliminating even the possibility of that by following the way I'm showing you. Do it right the first time. If you have to take shortcuts and you have to rely on third-party utilities, you're not a tech. You're just an enthusiast. And that's okay. Just don't call yourself a tech. I'm going to click on the link. There's no enforcement. You can call yourself a tech. It just pisses me off that you think that's equivalent to what a real tech does. And then you try telling that to people and they'll believe you, unless they're techs, and then they're going to get offended. All right, so what do we have? We have the Pinova. This is the P1, isn't it? And right here it says download. Click on that. It's going to take us to Google Drive. It says this file's too large to preview. That's fine. It's a trusted source, so I'm not worried about it. It's a 1.4 gig download. That's fine. So that's 1.4 gigs worth of drivers, even though we only need one driver. They don't break them out separately, and that's okay. I'm going to show you very easily how you can resolve this painlessly. And you're pretty much not finding this information anywhere on YouTube. I am unique in that I've been in this business for 35 years as a paid professional, and a content creator. So I'm combining two different careers here so I can give you, the viewer, real information instead of hobbyist information, and there is a big, big difference. If there wasn't, I'd be out of a job. The fact that I still work today and I have clients tells you that if everybody could just do this themselves, I wouldn't have a job. And the fact is, a lot of the steps people are giving are dangerous, risky, and come with consequences they failed to mention. And if you choose to listen to them, that's your fault. They're not breaking the law. So let me click on this file that we just downloaded, and let's go over here under these, right here it says extract all, and we need to pull out the contents of the zip file. So it's going to create a folder with the same name with all of the contents, and that goes right into our downloads file, or downloads folder. And again, end users get confused. They go, why do I have two folders with the same name? Once we're done here, only one is a folder, the other is a zip file. This confuses people because you don't want to work directly out of a compressed zip file. It's just there to make the data transmission shorter, because if that's 1.4 gigs compressed into a zip, it's going to be much larger once we decompress it. So when you order a mattress online and it shows up in the mail, it's a little tiny box. You open the box and the whole mattress expands. You're never going to get it back in the box again. Well, that's because the mattress was compressed to fit in a small box to make the shipping easier and cheaper. Then once you get it out of the box, it expands. That's all a zip file is. So if you look in the downloads directory, you're going to see we've got the zip file, which has a little zipper. It's hard to see. And then we have the folder. So to avoid confusion, one other way you can tell is there's a file size on the file, but there's not a folder size on a folder. So if you can't see the little zipper, but you see the size, it'll also say it's a compressed zipped folder. There's all this information that people just don't realize is right in front of them. They don't see what's right in front of them. So to avoid that confusion, just delete that file. We don't need it. We've already decompressed it. We don't need the box the mattress came in anymore. Within this folder, there are a number of other folders for some reason, and then these are all of the drivers. So what does any of this mean? Well, quite simply, all you have to do, close everything out, get back to the desktop. We're going to go back to our device manager by right-clicking on the Start menu, go to the device manager. Pay attention up at the top. That was not the device manager. Hold on. Right-click in device manager, not network connections. All right, now, you see this one that's got a problem? Did you notice the change up here when I clicked it? Watch again. Start again. Right-click, device manager. Pay attention. Look at what's on your screen. When I click anything in here, for this one, for example, watch what happens up here. We get additional icons, don't we? So we can install all of our drivers just by this button that says Update Device Drivers. Or I can update just this one device driver, which is the old school method of doing it from the old days. And it kills me to watch somebody do it this way. But since we only have one driver missing, we don't have to load all the drivers again. I can select this individual item, double click it, go to the driver, right here, Update Driver button, browse my computer, and just browse the downloads directory. So we'll pick the downloads directory. And we don't have to know what any of this means. The computer knows what it means. So just say, look through this mess of drivers, find the one that is for this specific device and put it in. And so it does. That's it. We're all done. We now have a device manager that is fully loaded up with no missing drivers. So once again, we're going to close it and reopen it just to verify there's no problems. We're all done. That's it. We're activated. We're updated. Our drivers are installed. It's not difficult. Now, in the future, if you ever want to reinstall Windows, all you have to do is go to the Start button, go to Settings, go to Windows Update, and you can do something you never could do prior to like Windows 8, which is there's an option here under Advanced Options called Recovery. This is where the new education is. You see here, it says reset this PC. This is the same way as resetting your phone. If there's a problem with the computer, there's something called Quick Machine Recovery that can fix the problem, so you don't have to do the reinstall. Wouldn't you rather just click once and have it done in 5 seconds than just go through everything we went through? These weren't options in the past. That's why you were never taught. They didn't exist. We can also do advanced startup if we want to kind of do the old-fashioned safe mode and all this other stuff. So reset this PC. Watch this. When I hit reset this PC, watch what happens. We can choose to keep your file so you don't lose anything. Or do you want to reset it where you're removing everything? You have two options here. So if what you're trying to do is fix a problem, you probably want to keep your files. If what you're going to do is resell the computer or donate it, then just remove everything. That's it. I don't know how much easier life can get and why people keep it so complicated, except, I'm going to keep repeating myself, they keep exercising lessons from 20 years ago that are unnecessary today. And they're doing things that take way longer and are way more complicated than a modern computer needs. I don't like my resolution being at 4K, which is, too small for me to read. So I'm going to right click anywhere on a blank spot of the desktop, go to display settings, and I'm going to drop this resolution. Now, do you notice we just found a problem right here? Look at here. The display resolution is 3840 by 2160, and it won't let me change it. And remember I said I'm supposed to see that AMD logo down here, the little program, and it's not running? So that's telling me that that AMD driver from AMD no longer supports this chip. Even though this is a brand new computer, that chip is older. And they still make them. But AMD says, we're not going to continue to pay our developers to keep updating code for a chip that old. Go to your manufacturer to get it. Well, we already downloaded those drivers, remember? So even though the device manager says there's no problems, we do have a problem indeed. Look under the display adapter. What do you think it says? It probably, before I click on it, it probably says you have a generic driver. It's not specific. So because it's generic, none of the granular changes are available to us because you need to be specific with the driver. So you could use the computer with the generic driver. It works fine. You just won't get all of your video performance. Let's click on display driver and see which one it's got. Microsoft Basic Display Adapter. Okay, that's the bare minimum. If you want all of your performance and features, you need to put on the precise driver. And unfortunately, because of the way Microsoft has coded Windows, they don't draw attention to this, which I think they should. We just figured it out by just trying to change the resolution that we can't. The only reason you can't change your resolution is you don't have the driver installed for your video card. You just have a generic driver. Which again, it gets the job done. But if you want everything you paid for, that's not done yet. So we're going to double click on that and we're going to go to driver. We're going to click update driver and we're going to browse the computer again in the downloads directory and let it see if it's in those drivers we downloaded. What's interesting is it's saying that the drivers that are best for our device are already installed. That's not good. What that's telling me is the manufacturer is using a driver that AMD doesn't want to support anymore. And AMD is saying, if you want this driver, get it from the manufacturer. So we go to the manufacturer, we should have it, but it's not finding it. There's one other possibility, and that's it's an executable file. If it's an executable file, then we have to pull it out manually by going back into the downloads directory and looking for ourselves for it. So back to downloads, let's open the folder. And let's look through here for an AMD graphics driver. It may be in here. The way they did this is not ideal for this very reason. And I'm going to bring this to their attention, they being the manufacturer, because they should have already had it in here. Or if it is in here, that should be a lot more obvious than all of these long, inexplicable names. There is a way to cheat. because I really don't want to look through all this, if I'm honest. There could be a video driver in here. One thing we can do is just search for an exe file. So we'll just go up here and search for exe and show all 60 executable files and see if, so these are the installers. I don't know, this one has an AMD logo. What happens if I double click on it? Could this be the video driver? Doesn't seem to be doing anything. Here's another AMD one. AMD noise suppression, I don't want that. Yeah, I don't see the graphics driver. So maybe the manufacturer dropped the ball here. So this is one of those circumstances that can appear on really inexpensive budget computers are going to use older hardware. If the older hardware, even though it's still new, was developed years ago, the manufacturers need to kind of, cut their resources away from that to focus on newer hardware after a certain number of years. So out of curiosity, just to give you an example, if I right-click on the Start menu and look at our system properties, which CPU do we have? We have an R2544 CPU. Okay, that's important to know because the website said it was a Ryzen 4300. So I don't know if the website's wrong or we posted the wrong link. So the R2544, when did that come out? When was that introduced by AMD to the market? When was R2544 AMD CPU released? 4 years ago. So a brand new computer with 4-year-old parts. That's why this is so inexpensive. But it's not like it's going to run much slower than a modern day computer. So then the question is, okay, if AMD is not going to provide me with the video driver and I'm not getting it from the manufacturer, how do I resolve this video problem? Oh, well, if you'd use a third-party driver utility, Carey, instead of being so stubborn. It's not about being stubborn. It's about not being lazy. What I'm trying to figure out is, what's the right way to use a trusted resource to get that driver? Some of these third-party driver softwares are spying on you, they're monitoring you, and they are taking up system resources. And I don't want to disrespect my customers' resources and computer by being lazy. I don't get paid to be lazy. Otherwise, I'd be the laziest person you ever met. And probably the wealthiest. So that's what I should have said. If I were paid to be lazy, I'd be rich. All right. So anyway, so the R2544. So here's what you can do. As much as people hate AI, AI is your best friend. That is also your worst enemy. And it's just how you use it. So if I type in Gemini, it's a free AI chatbot. And I'm going to ask AI, watch this. Where can I find the GPU driver for an AMD R2544? Just like you were actually talking to tech support, you talk the same way. Method 1, use the AMD Auto Detect tool. Okay, so unfortunately, AMD has decided they don't want to support this anymore, so they're going to just say, oh yeah, here's what it is, and go to your manufacturer's website. Well, we went to the manufacturer's website, it ain't there. So let's see what else. You can manually search. It's true, AMD may have the drivers archived, but I don't want to dig that deep. I don't want to work that hard. You go to your manufacturer. Okay, I already did that. So now what do we do? Well, we know the R2544 is made by AMD and that other manufacturers besides this manufacturer, KAMRUI, utilize it. So what drivers are they using? So I could type in, where can I find, just talk to it like a person, my manufacturer, and don't worry about typos, and AMD no longer offer the driver, no longer offer the graphics driver. What other manufacturer has this driver that I can use? Free tech support, no accent. Okay, Ryzen Embedded R2000, go to AMD's website. No, it's telling us how to get it this way. Windows Update's not doing it. That's not helpful. Have disk, extract. We can't get the installer. Okay, so that's not going to work. What other manufacturer, what other mini PC maker uses the R2544? Watch this. The KAMRUI P2 is identical on the inside as Ace Magic. Oh, that's true, they're the same company. Napogi is also the same company. The Napogi K1 uses the exact same motherboard and processor. Okay, so KAMRUI, Napogi, and Ace Magic are all the same company, and they all have different websites. So just because one website support doesn't have it, doesn't mean the other one doesn't. This is like what you know as an insider, right? Because what we've got is an older generic, it's not generic, it's the older AMD Vega 8 graphics driver on this chip. So there is an official AMD Embedded Enterprise catalog that archives these older drivers, and they're suggesting we sift through that. But I just don't want to do that work. It might take me less time to look for it than to explain this to you. But I would just rather try Ace Magic or Napogi and go to their support. So what's it saying? So we know the KAMRUI, this must be the P2, not the P1. Hold on, let me just verify what I'm working on. No, this is a P1. It says right on the back of the box it's a P1. So it's saying the P2 is the same. Well, let's check that out. Let's go back over to KAMRUI support. And this time, instead of looking under the P1 drivers, let's look under the P2 drivers. There's the P2. Clearly, it looks different, but if it's got the same internals, what do I care? And we'll download that one and see if we got a video driver. Yeah, that's... Oh, the package says it's for P1 and P2. So this is the same one we already got. So let's try the next suggestion, which was to look where? Ace Magic, Napogi K1. Let's grab the Napogi support site. So here, we'll just change this. Napogi store drivers and downloads. That's what I want. Perfect. And which model did it say it was? It said it was the K1. All right, so let's look at the K1. Close that out. EGH. Uh-oh. I don't see a K1. Well, that's not good. Let's go to the next one. It said Ace Magic. So let's, I don't want to confuse myself. Let's close all that. What was the Ace Magic model? KAMRUI P2. Okay, that didn't work. Napogi K1, couldn't find it. And Ace Magic. What model of Ace Magic? Doesn't say. Rats. Okay. Sometimes the AI is more helpful than others, but it's these little tidbits that keep us safe away from that driver software that I'm telling you, stay away from it, man. Never caused a problem for me, Carey. Yep. And that's just like the guy smoking cigarettes saying, I haven't died from it yet. Not yet. You're right. Not yet. All right, so let's go Ace Magic support. Drivers and downloads. And the question is, which one of these, if any of them, has this processor? So what we can do is we can ask the AI, since it didn't tell us, which Ace Magic mini PC utilizes the same CPU. Unlike a regular search, I don't have to reference the same CPU over and over and over again. it understands the context of our conversation that we've already had unless I clear it out and start over. So it's saying the Pinova K1 or the Cron K1. Okay, that's what I needed to know. So let's come over here and look for either of those back under the support. Do I see any K1s? There's a Wi-Fi driver. We don't need that one. We need the video driver. Let's try again. So we're coming up with all kinds of dead ends. This is quite unusual, and it has to do with the age of the system. So then it says, because the K1 uses a specialized embedded variant of the architecture, it's common for the basic AMD graphics driver to say hardware not supported. If you're tracking down a driver because you just wiped the PC or experiencing display issues, you'll want to look at method 3, have disk. So what does method 3 say? Let's look at it again, because I went over it real quickly because I'm trying to be as expedient as possible, which isn't working out. So it says browse my computer for drivers. We already did that. We already did this. And unfortunately, this isn't going to work for us because we don't have these drivers. It's saying we would find them in the AMD folder, but I'm pretty sure we don't have an AMD folder, but let me check. We'll go to our C drive and see if there's one there. There is one there. But that's just chipsets. It's not graphics. So that's not going to work for us. So that may leave me no choice. Well, I mean, there's probably, it says go to AMD's website and specifically look for this. Okay, let's try that. It's been a while since drivers have been that old that it's been this hard to find on what is sold as a brand new computer. And it's really on the manufacturer to ease us by providing it. And they didn't provide it. And believe me, I'm going to tell them, because this is unusual. This is a worst case scenario, which is the best thing I could have hoped for this video. I'm actually excited this is happening, because to experience it is very different from explaining it. It's unlikely you will have this problem, but if you do buy one of these really low-end budget computers, despite how capable they are, you could run into this problem because of how old the brand new parts are that they're using. So let's go to AMD's website. So we'll just copy that into the search. AMD embedded drivers and down. Okay, for the R1000, R2000. That's what we want right there. There's the driver for Windows 11. See, that's over a year ago. We're going to be almost 2 years since they've touched this. That will never change. AMD has abandoned this, but at least they left the driver up. I do believe that's all I needed to do. I mean, I know that now, but I would prefer to grab it from the manufacturer. You should get everything you need from the manufacturer, and that's why I make these videos, is to go through the process and identify where there could be any hangups, and to let the manufacturer know. Now, what the manufacturer does in response, I can't control. But if the manufacturer says, thank you for letting us know when they fix it, nobody will have to do this thanks to me. On the other hand, if the manufacturer doesn't, if they don't acknowledge us or they ignore us, then this information stands so that you don't have to rely on them. Well, let's extract this one. Let's open it. And let's extract it. This should be the video driver, I think. And while that's extracting, we can close all these other windows just to avoid any other confusion. We're going to close everything here. So there's no clutter. We stay focused. Too many people try to do too many things at once and then confuse themselves and not sure where they left off. I'm one of them. So I'm doing that for your sake to make these instructions clearer, but also for my sake to not have so much damn information on the screen I no longer need. Now I'm solely focused on this one folder that we've extracted. And within that, there's a setup. We're going to run the setup, click yes. And if this is the right thing, And they need to include this. The manufacturer needs to include this on their driver download page. It says there's an AMD graphics driver available for us. Let's install it. Why would the manufacturer not provide this? Maybe they just forgot. Maybe it's an oversight. Or maybe that driver package was put together a couple of years ago when the AMD Adrenalin software took care of this. And since they did that, AMD has dropped support for it as being obsolete and is now directing you to go to the manufacturer's website, and the manufacturer has not been made aware of this yet. Or they have been made aware and they're choosing to ignore it because they don't want to spend any money. I don't know, but the money they'd have to spend would be to pay the employee to make this file available on their website, to pay the website developer, to put it onto the Google Drive. And you know, someone's going to get paid for that. And there's not a lot of money going around on a $370 computer. Not that that's an excuse, but more than likely they just don't know and nobody's told them. So we're going to assume benefit of the doubt. So that's it. Now we should have a video driver if everything worked. Let's see. Give that a second. Right click. Oh, it's still loading something. Right click the device. Right click on the start button. There it goes. That was the screen I was expecting to see earlier that I said waiting for it to pop up. That is definitely the video driver. Let's close it out. Just for the heck of it, let's just go to display settings and see, can we change our resolution? We can. Ta-da! Because that's all I wanted to do was choose 1980 by 1020. 1080 by 1920. And then I also want to change this wallpaper. I want to go to personalize and then choose the Windows 11 theme. We're all done. You have a brand new, fresh, clean computer with no bloatware, no nonsense freeware for driver applications already infecting your machine with nonsense. This is as clean as you can get, which means our performance is as good as it's ever going to be. And this thing is going to be super reliable. And if you look under to the device manager, you'll notice nothing is visibly changed. But when we click on device display adapters, it'll say we have an AMD Radeon instead of a basic display adapter. We don't want to see Microsoft's name here. So now suddenly all of our performance for our graphics and all of the features of our graphics card are enabled now. So I think the device manager should alert you to that. But if you ever wonder, like if you ever try to change your resolution and you notice that it's not allowed to change, it's because you don't have a display driver other than the generic one. And that's it. We're done. Everything is perfect. We're activated. We have a clean install. We've got all our Windows updates. We've got the latest chipset driver. And now, if we want to do some tests, I can take out my Windows flash drive, which, by the way, I could have taken out a long time ago. And I'll put my utilities flash drive in. And now we can start running whatever benchmarks we want to run while the system's clean. Now, as you want to install your own applications, this would be the time. Not before. Only now are you in the green to go ahead and plug in your external drive, plug in your printer, do one thing at a time, start installing your, and configuring your email, Office, Outlook, whatever it is. Restore your bookmarks, any data you want to restore. Now, only now, would be the earliest time possible for you to do that. If you started doing that before now, you're setting yourself up for a massive nightmare of a diagnostic if things don't work. Good luck figuring it out. So since we're starting with a solid platform, now when we install our printer and then we get our email configured and we copy over our data, should something happen, we know when that thing happened, what caused it. So at the very least, if we go back to this point here, we know everything's good. So when something you do screws it up, you know exactly at what point it screwed up. Once you get it all set up the way you like it, that's when you should do a system image. And you can do that with built-in tools in Windows. You can go to Settings. No, it's not in Settings. Just type in the word Control Panel. And right here in Control Panel, if we click the category view and make it just a large icon view here, you see this backup and restore Windows 7. This was an application that Microsoft has included in every version of Windows since Windows 7. And it's a basic system imaging tool for backing up your system. So once you get it set up the way you like it, create a system image and follow the on-screen instructions. Okay? Then copy that system image onto an external drive or a cloud somewhere, a NAS. And then you'll want to make a rescue disk afterwards so that if you ever need to reinstall again, all you have to do is recover your system image and it'll put it right back in time to where it is right now. Meaning anything we do from this point forward will not be saved unless you manually save that later. All for free, no third-party software. Did you see me use any third-party software unless it was made by AMD? You did not. That is the professional way to do things. That's how you do things the right way, with liability, accountability, and responsibility, while respecting your hardware and your customer. Doing it any other way is disrespectful, and you shouldn't be in business if that's what you're doing. And I wish there was a way I could enforce that. But unfortunately, there are people in business legally that are doing horrible things. We've all been to bad doctors, we've been to bad dentists, we've been to bad mechanics. Just because somebody does something for a living doesn't make them good at it. They're not necessarily violating any rules, right? If that's how they choose to run their business and you're okay with it, knock yourself out. I'm not okay with it. Do it right or get out of the business. And if you want to think you can do it at home, then do it the same way the professional will. If you can't be bothered, it's your consequences. If you think you know better, hey man, you're really doing the community a disservice if you know better and you're not in this line of work helping other people. So if you're not in this line of work helping other people, it sounds to me like you really don't know better. Sort of the proof is in the pudding, right? It's in the evidence. Like, well, where is it? If you're so good, where's your book? Where's your video? Where's your article that you've written at some website? Let me see it. Oh, I don't do that. Yeah, that's all I need to know about you. That's fine. So you're saying one thing and you're doing something else. There's so many people in the world online right now that behave that way. They're so easily, I just dismiss them. I'm like, that's all I need to know about you. No, really, I am. Yeah, of course you are. Of course you are. I mean, clearly the evidence suggests that everything you're saying is right. But since there's no evidence, it's just your imagination and you want me to agree with that? Never. I don't have faith in strangers. You need to prove your worthiness. And if you can't be bothered, I can't be bothered to believe you. So you go live in your fantasy world and I'll live in reality and we'll agree to disagree. I'm not here to tell you you're wrong. I'm just not going to entertain that nonsense. It's so bizarre. But recognize that online. There's so much of it. It's overwhelming the amount of misinformation that comes across confidently with arrogance. That if you believe these people, then you're the one who made the mistake. So when you follow somebody's advice and it causes you trouble and they're not accountable for it, you'll understand where I'm coming from. That doesn't work in the real world. If I'm working at Intel, which I was, and I screw up an employee's computer, there's going to be consequences to me. You understand? But if you're at home and you're making a video or you're writing something and you don't know what you're talking about and that screws up some stranger's computer somewhere in the world that believed you, you'll never know. And now you just made their world a living hell. You weren't helpful. And you'd say, well, geez, why would I put myself in that circumstance unless I'm getting paid? Exactly. Why would you? So something to be wary of with enthusiasts is they often only know about their own situation. They don't know about anybody else's. And a lot of times the enthusiasts know what works, but they don't know why. So they'll have you follow rituals that are completely unnecessary. They might be 10 steps when really it's only step 7 was all you needed, but they don't know any better. And then you won't know any better because if you follow all 10 steps and it fixes your problem, you say, wow, thank you, you know so much. But the truth is they don't know anything at all. They just know a little bit more than you. Because if they really knew what they were talking about, They would have just told you the one of the 10 steps you actually needed, but you don't know any better, they don't know any better, and both parties walk away thinking, wow, I did a good job, and the other person says, wow, that person is really knowledgeable. And neither of those is true. It's a correlation that doesn't follow any evidence. And it's frustrating because I can't work to that standard and get paid. I will lose my job. But in the enthusiast world, that's just Tuesday, you know? What's today? Wednesday. So it drives me crazy. I would love to get away with that and get paid. But in all fairness, the enthusiasts aren't getting paid either. Let me go in the chat. It's been a while since I've looked in the chat room and see if you have any questions for me. I'll be happy to answer any questions you have if I can. A little disappointed that Gemini didn't help us very much, but at the end, the answer did come from Gemini. It just was an answer I didn't want. That's on me. All right, I take full accountability for my decisions there. Let me scroll through the chat and see what you guys have been saying. When I'm full screen watching this computer, I cannot see the chat room. So for nearly an hour and a half now, or 2 hours, anything you've said in the chat room, I've not seen. So let me scroll through the chat and see what's been talked about while I've been focused on my job. Hey, Planet Cryos joins us. He says it's been a little bit, just saying hi. Good to see you, Planet Cryos. Thanks for stopping in. Hope you're doing well, my friend. Proteva says hello, and Xander Vanderhoven joins us as well. Says it's 57 degrees Fahrenheit in the Netherlands. Yeah, I am far behind. There's Frankie B. Hey, Frankie. Elijah Dickens joining us. So I don't know how far back this was, but I am seeing it for the first time right now. Montana joining us. Tom Jackson joins us. Richard DeFries. David Herzog. Dustin Fuller. Al says hello. Joseph says hello. Hey, welcome in, everyone. Sorry I've been so focused over here I wasn't paying attention. I'm a rude host. The Gerard says hello. Bikeman says hello. Robert Jones. Johnny Weld. Mental says hello. CB Sys is telling us where to find the drivers on AMD. I just didn't want to get the drivers from AMD. I wanted to get it from the manufacturer, but I appreciate your help. Kransvat says hello, and Mikkel says hello. Maybe it's Michael. Arnold Albert says hello, and John Downey and Sajuro are joining us in the chat. Right on. Well, thank you guys for hanging out with us today. If you have any questions for me, this will be the time to ask. Otherwise, we're right at a 2-hour mark. Perfect timing. But my show doesn't end at a certain time on the clock. If you've been watching this channel for a while, I will stick around as long as you guys want to communicate with me. If you just want to stare and watch, then I'm done. I have nothing else to say. So this is your opportunity, if you want the show to continue, to engage me in conversation. On the other hand, if there's nothing you want to know, there's no questions I can answer, I thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Thank you to everybody in green for supporting us here so we can continue to finance this show without relying on corporate sponsorships and manipulation. And I'm free to speak my mind without any consequence from any corporation withholding funds. Because of our community, all those people in green, I can speak my mind as a true technician, no differently than the way I tell my customers. I don't talk to you any differently. I don't respect you any less. I don't think, well, you're just a YouTube audience, it doesn't matter. Not in my world. You matter as much to me as a real life customer that's paying me. And so all those people in green are paying me, and they as such get that same level of service and that same level of candor, where I'm going to tell you exactly as a technician what my advice is. Whether or not you choose to follow it, that's on you. Regardless, I'm always happy to help. You can always email us if you want some help. Sometimes somebody will ask a question in the chat where it's just going to be me and them talking for half an hour and nobody else is interested. Situations like that are best handled in email privately. If you want to reach us, our email address, showcasecreate@gmail.com. We love hearing from you guys. You're never bothering us. Feel free to reach out if you're curious about something. Please don't ask us what's best. I don't know what's best for you. I know what's best for me, but I don't know what's best for anybody else. There's no such thing as what's best. There's what's most expensive. Some people think, they go, hey, what's the best video card? Well, what's the most expensive one? That's the same question. On the other hand, if what you want to know is what's the best video card under these circumstances, budget, how you're planning to use it, there's a lot of details, then that's only what's best for you. It's like walking into a restaurant and saying, what's best, the chicken, the fish, or the steak? Or just a salad? What kind of crazy, weird question is that? That's like walking into a car dealership and saying, which car is the best? There's no such thing. So please stop asking what's best. There's only what's best for you. And we have to ask you a ton of questions before we can even get to understand where your values are, what your budget is, and what your needs are. And then how your needs compare to your wants. How could anybody know that personal information about you? Wouldn't it be a scary world if we did? You want to talk about privacy concerns? I care about my privacy. Now tell me what's best. I can't do that without knowing a lot more about you. Nobody on the planet can. All right, that's going to wrap it up. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you to all of our friends in green. Thank you, of course, to Buster, as always, sending us that Amazon gift card prior to the show starting. And thank you to Mara, who makes our thumbnails, does our video links. Everything we've talked about is in the video description below today's video. And we'll be back on Friday with the A-Dreamer mini PC, a manufacturer we've never heard of before. How will they measure up? Join us live and find out when we unbox and plug it in and turn it on for the very first time and see what my response is. Is it, hey, this is cool, or uh-oh? We never know. They are live. There's no way to know what's going to happen. So hopefully you'll be here to witness it. We'd love having you here. Thank you so much. We'll see you again on Friday, 1 o'clock Pacific time. Until then, bye for now.